Losing 100 pounds did not give me the body that I wanted. I was at a healthy weight for my height. I had finally gotten to a number on the scale that I had waited for so long. I was almost the smallest that I had been in my entire adult life, and I thought losing that weight was the finish line. But it turns out it wasn't. Now, this wasn't some sort of body dysmorphia happening. It wasn't any kind of mind games. I could look in the mirror and tell that I was smaller, but I wasn't strong. I was leaner, but I wasn't defined. Even after hitting that big goal of getting 100 pounds down, I wanted more for myself. I knew that I wanted to look like a fit and healthy person, and I still looked and felt a little bit fluffy, if that makes sense. So if shrinking my body wasn't enough, what was I missing? Well, I didn't know it then, but now I do, and I want to share the secrets to my success with you in case you are at that point where you have reached a goal weight but still aren't quite happy with where you are when it comes to what your body looks like. If you're new here, I'm Megan. I started in August 2023 weighing 243 pounds. I lost 100 pounds in 10 months and then went on to lose an additional 25 pounds over the next 5 months and have been maintaining my weight with a weekly shot for over a year now. In this video today, I wanted to share with you how I transformed my body from being at a healthy weight but still feeling a little bit fluffy to the toned, athletic, fit-looking body that I have today. It was after the bulk of my weight loss, after I had lost 100 pounds, when I really started to get serious about strength training and fitness. Now, to be upfront, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a personal trainer. I have zero professional background in anything I'm sharing today. I just wanted to share what worked for me and what helped me just intuitively figure out what worked for my body to get to be the healthiest, fittest person I have been in my entire life. Even at my thinnest weight, I have always maintained a pear-shaped body. I've always been bigger on the bottom. I'm a big bootied girl. I have really thick thighs and a smaller top and waist. That's just always how I have been. And I pretty much maintained that body shape during the bulk of my weight loss. It was once I got really serious about fitness and started lifting weights that my body really changed in ways that I did not even know were possible. I really didn't know that it was possible to completely change your body shape, but that is exactly what I did. My big booty completely disappeared. I don't necessarily recommend that, but that is something that happened to me while I was losing my final 25 pounds, going from a healthy weight to an even lower weight. My shoulders, my arms, my back all got much more muscular, and now my proportions have flipped, where I'm no longer bigger on the bottom. I'm actually bigger on top. So I wear like a small medium on top now and an extra small or a small on the bottom, which is wild to me because I've spent 40 years being the opposite of that, always knowing that I was bigger on the bottom than I was on top. In this video today, I want to share 10 of the keys to my success that took me from that smaller but not strong and not toned physique to the body that I have today. If you are getting close to maintenance mode on your GLP-1 journey, I hope some of these keys will be helpful in transitioning you to maybe the next phase of your journey where you're not just trying to get smaller, but you're trying to be the very healthiest you that you can be. So let's get started with the very first key. Transitioning from that weight loss mode to focusing on your body composition is really essential, and it can be really hard. I know if you're like me, you probably spent years, maybe your entire life, thinking about weight loss and trying to be the very smallest version of yourself that you could be. When you have been trying to get the number on the scale to go down for so long, it can be really, really hard when that number starts to stay steady. Even if you're at a healthy weight and logically you know, I'm at a weight that feels good for my body, it can be really hard to not get that high of seeing that number on the scale go down every day. I know for me, I was losing weight for about 10 months. I had only been overweight for probably about 5 years when I started on my GLP-1 journey. I know some of us have spent years and years or your entire lives in a bigger body, and that has been a singular goal probably that has consumed so much of your life. And to have that goal just go away overnight is honestly kind of strange. It is a weird out-of-body experience to be standing on a scale and looking at the number and knowing your job is done. There's nothing else to do. When you've met that goal, it's almost like a little bit of a letdown. So for me, letting go of the number on the scale and transitioning into a different goal was really helpful, where I could start to think about what my body was made up of instead of trying to get the number on the scale to go down. I could start to think about my body in terms of things like body fat and muscle mass. One of the things I did at this point in my journey was I went and got a DEXA scan. I got a DEXA scan because I wanted to know, hey, what is happening inside my body? And I wanted some data that I could use to set some new goals. I didn't necessarily have a certain body fat percentage or a certain muscle mass percentage that I wanted to achieve. I wanted to be able to know what was going on inside my body so that it could inform my decisions that I was making about my fitness routine. Once you have lost a significant amount of weight, you might have people in your life telling you, oh, aren't you going to stop? I think you're done now, right? And I had gotten to that point where I was at a healthy weight for my height. The top end of a healthy weight for my height is about 145 pounds. I had gotten to that point and I felt really good in my body, and other people noticed that I was looking good and I was fitting into smaller clothes, and I could have stayed at that weight and been just fine. But like I said, I wasn't happy with how my body was looking and I wanted to be stronger. When I did my DEXA scan, it made me realize I actually had a lot more body fat that I could lose. It showed me the areas of my body that had fat accumulated on them, and it helped me realize that I could lose more weight because I needed to lose more body fat. In addition to doing a DEXA scan, at this point in my journey, I got a smart scale. I used a regular old bathroom scale up until that point, but I wanted the metrics of being able to see directionally that my body fat was going down and that my muscle mass was going up. Now, smart scales come in a range of different shapes and sizes. There's all sorts of technology that is out there. I just have a super basic Renpho scale. It costs like $24. It was not expensive, and it gives me enough data and is accurate enough for me. One of the tips with the smart scale that I found super helpful, that helped my smart scale actually line up really closely with what my DEXA scan says, is to make sure that it's on athlete mode. To be honest, I have no idea why that works, but when I had it on just the regular mode, it showed my body fat percentage is completely different than what my DEXA scan said. But as soon as I switched it to athlete mode, it lines up almost perfectly with the amount of muscle and the body fat that my DEXA scan says. And so once I knew what needed to change, the next question was, how do I change it? And that led straight to key number 2, which is something boring that, of course, not everybody wants to do, but anybody you see who is muscular or toned does. So key number 2 is that I started strength training with a purpose. Now, I had been strength training during my entire weight loss journey. I started out day 1 exercising. I started out with daily walks. Now, I did not go far. I was 100 plus pounds overweight and my feet hurt. It was August. I started in the summer in Texas. It was a very sweaty situation, but I did what I could and I did a little bit more every single day. I also had already been strength training a little bit, and I will say that the difference is that I was strength training without a purpose. I was strength training and just trying to make sure that a couple of times a week I was using my muscles. I have a smart gym here in my house. It is called a Tonal, and that's what I work out on. Of course, not everybody has that, and there are a million ways to strength train, and you will just have to find something that works for you. I needed something that was super convenient where I didn't have to leave my house. I am a homeschool mom of 3 young kids. It is really hard for me to get away and leave my kids. So having a way to work out at home works for me. You might be somebody who enjoys going to the gym and wants to get out and have that social experience, and that's amazing that you can go to a gym and do that. You might not have a Tonal at home, but you might find other ways to work out at home. You might get a set of dumbbells. You might have exercise bands. There are lots of different ways to make workouts at home work for you. What I did during the 10 months of my 100-pound weight loss was that I worked out a few times a week to keep my muscles moving and strong. When you are overweight, you actually have a lot of muscle. You have built enough muscle to sustain this big, giant, oversized body that you have. So I was starting from a place where I had a lot of muscle. Of course, when you're losing massive weight like I did, you are going to lose a little bit of muscle too. I did know that going into this journey, and so I was doing what I could to preserve the muscle that I had, which meant using it a few times a week doing strength training and eating enough protein. I was not super concerned with exactly what I was working out. I found programs on my channel that looked fun to me. If it wasn't fun to me, I didn't do it. And I think that's pretty smart because I wanted momentum and I wanted to be able to keep going. I didn't want something where I was going to be super sore or hurting a ton or something that was so hard I was going to be dreading it. So my workouts were usually 20 to 30 minutes. I enjoyed them. I did it 2, 3, sometimes 4 days a week. And paired with the walking that I was doing, that was plenty of movement and exercise for me. Once I had lost 100 pounds and made the decision to really go all in on changing the look of my body through strength training, I had to start working out with a purpose. I had to start working out with a program in mind that is designed by somebody smarter than me, where all of the muscles in my body were going to be worked in a systematic fashion. So I would be doing upper body, then lower body, then upper body, then full body, then upper body, then low body, then upper body, then full body. Some sort of systematic fashion where I was going to be using the same muscles over and over again. And every single time I use them, I would be increasing my weights slightly. Now, I have the benefit of having my smart home gym that tracks my weights for me and automatically adds weight to the same exercises. So let's say I do a bench press and it will calculate the weight that I can handle on a bench press so that the next time I do bench press, it can add a little bit more weight to it. If you know anything about fitness, you might recognize this method of strength training in this way of doing the same exercises with the same muscles and adding weight each time as progressive overload. So if you're looking for a program that you can do, maybe you're going to do some workouts and try to find something on YouTube and do something at home with dumbbells. That could be something that you search for. Now, I will say that I worked out a lot in previous years before I gained a lot of weight, and I never gained muscle. No matter how many times I went to the gym, I never, ever looked fit. I never looked the part. And I think that's because in group exercise classes, which is what I always did because I enjoy it, it was more of a social thing for me, it would be harder to do progressive overload in a group setting like that because you don't necessarily have control over the programs that you're doing. And no matter how well designed the program is, if you're not going on a consistent schedule that matches exactly what your body is looking for, and if you're not tracking your weights to make sure that you're increasing your weights each time, you won't be getting that progressive overload. So I know when I did group exercise classes, I would enjoy classes like body pump. And I would go maybe on a Tuesday and maybe it was more upper body that day. And then I would go on Thursday and maybe that day was upper body because they did lower body on Wednesday, but I didn't go on Wednesday. So I'm doing upper body again on Thursday. And no matter how many times I went to the classes, I always used the same weights. I grabbed the same dumbbells and the same barbell, and I never changed my weights. And I think that's why I never saw progress in the way that my body looked, because I wasn't actually building muscle. I was doing enough to sustain the muscle that I already had, but I was never stressing my muscles enough to make it grow. So if your workouts don't progressively get harder, your muscles won't be growing in a way that you can visually see it from the outside. I will say that if you don't have something like a smart home gym like I have, and if you don't have access to a gym and workout machines or free weights and the knowledge to design a program for yourself, either with ChatGPT or YouTube videos or tutorials on how to design a progressive overload program, this is where maybe hiring a personal trainer would come in very handy, because you can have somebody work with you one-on-one to know what you should be doing for your body so that you can challenge yourself and understand how to continually challenge yourself as you get stronger and stronger. But while I was strength training before, during my 100-pound weight loss, that strength training was more about fun. Now, I will say that once I started getting serious about it and started training in this way with progressive overload, it was not fun. It was actually very boring. I did the same workouts, sometimes for 6, 8 weeks in a row, where I would just be repeating the same workout because I'm using the same exact muscles and I want to be using a heavier weight each time. So I would be doing the same moves for 4, 6, 8 weeks in a row, and that just really isn't all that exciting. Once I finished that program, I would take a week off, then I would start a new program and do different exercises to work these different muscles, but again, stick to the same program and repeating the moves for 4, 6, or 8 weeks. On to key number 3, which is getting in enough protein. I know we all hear all about protein, and it was definitely something that I did during my 100-pound weight loss. Protein is important to maintain the muscles we have, but it's even more important if you want to grow muscle. I have a routine where I drink a protein shake every single time that I lift weights. I know if I'm using my muscles, I want to make sure that I'm fueling them afterwards. So every time I do a strength training workout, I drink a Health Code chocolate macadamia nut protein shake afterward. I like mine blended. I do 1 cup of frozen sliced bananas, 8 ounces of water, 2 scoops of Health Code protein powder, and it makes a delicious chocolate milkshake that is super yummy and fuels my muscles. Key number 4 was eating carbs for fuel. If you're like me, you may have avoided carbs during your weight loss journey and during the million other attempts that you had at losing weight. Now, carbs are not the enemy. Carbs are energy for your body. If you're working out and you're strength training in this systematic progressive overload way, you are going to need some energy. My workouts were typically 50 to 60 minutes long, and because I was working out so intensely, I needed more energy. The kinds of foods I was eating during my weight loss journey were just not going to cut it during this phase where I was trying to build muscle. There was a turning point when I intentionally added more carbs to my diet. Now, I did not just go for refined white carbs. I really tried to add more whole grain and whole food carbs. So things for me that are really satisfying and give me the energy that I need are things like rice. I prefer white rice. I don't like the taste of brown rice, so I go with white rice. But I also love potatoes. I like to do them in the air fryer or boil them or mash them. There are lots of ways that you can have potatoes, and added to a meal with a lot of protein and vegetables, it just rounds out the meal where it's really satisfying. I also started making some other changes where instead of doing keto bread, which I love Sola brand keto bread, it tastes really good to me, and it's a swap that I made during my weight loss journey. But when I started to realize that I needed more carbs, I started to add more regular bread back into my diet. Not all the time, but just when I felt like I needed it. In our house, we eat Dave's Killer Bread. I like the thin sliced white bread. It tastes really good and it's very filling and delicious. Eating more carbs is absolutely a mindset shift that takes a little bit of adjusting to, because when you fear carbs or you feel like carbs are going to make you fat, it is a huge adjustment to start eating more carbs again. And the truth is, carbs don't make you fat. They do give you energy. And if you're not expending that energy, your body does store that as fat. But in the case where you're working out really intensely, your body's going to use that energy, and then it's going to help build your muscle and help you recover and help you get that look that you want. Key number 5 is kind of related to the previous 2 keys, where you have to stop dieting. If you try to build muscle on the amount of calories that helped you lose weight, you are going to fail. I am one of the lucky people who feel a lot of appetite suppression on a GLP-1. And I could go with very few calories. And that served me really well when I was losing weight and helped me lose 100 pounds in 10 months. But when you're trying to build muscle, you have to fuel your body in a way that it can not just sustain itself, but build upon itself. And it does take more calories. Now, I'm not somebody who tracks every calorie that I eat, so I don't know exactly how many calories I'm eating at any point in time. I do know that when I was losing weight, there were many days where I was eating probably 12 to 1400 calories, and that was not unusual for me, and it did not feel hard on my body. I am pretty petite, and that amount of calories helped me feel energized and satisfied, and for me, that worked. Once I started working out really intensely, though, I knew I had to add more calories into my diet because I was expending so much energy, so the amount of calories I was eating before was not working for me anymore. I could feel that my body was crashing, that I was having those afternoon crashes. I was feeling like I didn't have enough energy to make it through the day, and that's not what I wanted. So I needed to start making some changes in my diet, and I didn't want to just start adding junk into my diet or eating more for the sake of eating more. So I intentionally started increasing my calories in what you might call a reverse dieting approach, where I just started really small and adding a small amount of calories every day or every week until I felt like I was eating at a place that could sustain the workouts I was doing. I have tracked my calories on occasion for up to a week, and now I know I am eating probably between about 1,800 and 2,100 calories a day, and that works really well for my body. And it's kind of creepy how much your body can maintain its weight at such a steady level. I've been maintaining my weight for over a year now, and it doesn't really matter what I eat day to day, or if I have a day where I'm eating a lot more or a day where I am eating a lot less. My body has really reached such a good equilibrium where my weight just stays super steady, even to like the 10th of a pound. Some of the ways that I started adding in calories were just things like adding half of an avocado to my breakfast, or instead of getting the non-fat Faye Greek yogurt that I love, I started getting 2% or started getting 5%, the full fat version of it. Instead of eating that keto bread, I would eat the regular bread that was more calories. Instead of eating a keto tortilla, I would just eat a regular tortilla. I might sprinkle a few slivered almonds on my salad or add a drizzle of olive oil to my green beans. Just things like that were adding calories into my diet, but in a whole food, healthy way. So it was nothing like how I was eating before when I was gaining a lot of weight. And this approach felt really steady and easy and sustainable to me and helped me fuel the workouts so that I was able to put in the maximum effort for the maximum results. Key number 6 for me was to be really hydrated, to drink a lot of water. I'm not somebody who naturally gets thirsty or craves water, but working out in this way, especially if you live in a warmer climate like I do. I live in Texas. We were at like 85 degrees on Christmas, so it is pretty warm for most of the year. So staying hydrated is really important. I wake up every morning, I drink a 30-ounce glass of water. I do my workouts typically in the morning, and I usually drink an additional 30-ounce glass of water during my workout. On really hot days or days where I'm doing cardio or I feel like I'm sweating a lot or just need a little extra boost, I will drink electrolytes also. Electrolytes just help keep me balanced, and I can definitely feel a difference and I feel more energized when I have them. Also, if I have any kind of a headache or feel any sort of like fatigue or dehydration coming in, a packet of electrolytes helps my body and does wonders for me. I prefer the Element citrus salt flavor. I said in another video that I didn't know anybody else who liked this flavor, and these citrus salt lovers showed up because apparently there are people out there who like it. Anybody in real life who I've tried to give this flavor to tells me I don't like it, that it's like salty lemonade. It's very strange. To me, I love it. It's delicious. My husband prefers the fruitier flavors like watermelon or raspberry. Key number 7 for me was adding creatine into my routine. I am not somebody who takes supplements. I honestly have not taken a single other supplement as consistently as I've taken creatine. I don't even take a multivitamin. I have taken multivitamins, especially during my weight loss phase. I've taken other things like biotin to prevent hair loss, and I've quit taking that. And really, the creatine, I notice a difference when I consistently take the creatine. It is a supplement that you need to talk to your doctor about. It does something with your kidneys. I know my mom can't take it. So you'll definitely want to check and make sure that it is a supplement that is appropriate for you. If it is, talk to your doctor about how much you should take. The standard dosage of it is like 5 milligrams, but I've seen a lot of people saying that there are benefits to taking more of it. You do what works for you, but I do see benefits in taking it every day. So even on days when I don't work out, I make sure to get my creatine in. I like to add my creatine to my protein shake because I'm having a protein shake almost every day, and it just makes it easy. If I happen to have a day where I don't have a protein shake, I'll mix it into my tea or another drink so that I make sure to get it in. I don't know exactly what creatine does, but I do know that once I started taking it, I could see a difference in the way my body visually looked because of my muscle definition. It's also supposed to help you recover faster, not need as much rest between workouts on the same body part. And I think definitely I have noticed that also. On to key number 8, which is cardio. I know cardio gets a bad rap these days. There are some people saying, who needs cardio? You don't need it anymore. For me, I think cardio is really important for your heart health, and I want to make sure that my body is in shape in all the ways. So cardio has continued to be an important part of my fitness routine. At first, I started with walking, and walking was enough for me because I was so out of shape and so overweight that it got my heart rate up so much. So walking was my cardio for a long time. Once I had lost 100 pounds, I knew I needed to take it up a notch. So I started running. Running isn't for everybody. Some people don't have the knees for it or whatever. For me, running felt really good. And I do use the term running loosely because it's more like a jog. I keep it really slow. I'm not running to be super fast. I'm not running so that I can go do a marathon or anything like that. I'm running really just for fun and for exercise, for fitness, to keep my heart rate in the very best shape it can be. In addition to running several times a week, I usually try to run like 2 to 4 times a week. I like to do jump rope workouts, and that really gets my heart rate up. I actually hadn't done it in a while, and I started doing it. We were out of town, and jumping rope is something that is amazing because it's super portable and you can travel with it. So I love being able to travel with my jump rope, get in a cardio workout wherever I am. Honestly, it only takes like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, and you'll be dying. I typically just search on YouTube for a jump rope workout. And because jumping rope is so hard, you can't jump rope for more than like 2 minutes straight. So a lot of jump rope workouts have like body weight workouts interspersed in them. So you'll jump rope for 2 minutes, and you'll do like squats or push-ups. Then you'll jump rope for 30 seconds and do a different 30-second jump rope. Then you'll do mountain climbers or something like that. So I just search on YouTube and I find jump rope workouts, and they are an awesome way to kind of stress my heart and get my heart rate really up. Incorporating cardio into my fitness routine really helps my body stay lean and have the lean look so that the muscle that I'm building during my strength training workouts can actually show through. I could be building all of that muscle, but if it's hidden under a thick layer of body fat, you would not be able to see it. So doing the cardio and keeping my body fat percentage low and keeping as lean as I can really helps my muscles be able to show off more. Key number 9 is to chase strength, not skinny. For so long, being smaller was the goal. When you start strength training, you have to learn to be okay with the scale going up. Being small was phase 1 and being strong is phase 2. When my goal changed, my body did too. When you have the courage to let go of being as small as you can so that you can get as strong as you can, you will see amazing changes start to happen in your body. This is not easy, and it takes a lot of adjustment, and it takes a lot of mental gymnastics to become okay with this. But I think it's an essential part of the journey if you are somebody who wants to be fit and strong as an end goal. Key number 10 is patience. I expected muscle to build as fast as the weight came off, and the truth is that it doesn't. Muscle building is slow. While I lost 100 pounds in 10 months, it took me 5 additional months to lose that last 25 pounds and to build the muscle that I have today. And I will say that it is a lot harder to stay the course, to have the patience to keep things consistent, even when you're not having the thrill of weight loss and those wins that you're having every week on the scale as the scale is going down. When you're building muscle, the process is so much slower. It is a lot harder to see. It is the consistency and keeping the same workout routine, repeating those workouts with those heavier weights, eating that protein every single day, hydrating, doing the cardio, and putting in all this work consistently day after day that really is what is going to give you your success. And it's interesting because there's no end goal. It's not really like weight loss where you can have your goal weight. I mean, you can set some metrics that can measure success for you, but it really just becomes more of a lifestyle where you're just doing these things every day because you know that it gives you the look that you want. Once you have achieved the look that you want and you do have muscle that you worked so hard for and were so patient for, I do have good news because you can stop for an extended amount of time. At least in my experience, I did. I had surgery in July. I didn't work out for over 4 months and I still maintained a lot of the muscle that I have. I've only been working out for about 6 weeks now and my muscles are looking pretty much like they looked pre-surgery back in June. And I'm nowhere near my full strength of being able to lift the amount of weight that I was able to lift before because my muscles are a lot weaker and I'm learning how to use them again after surgery. My chest muscles were cut into, my ab muscles were cut into, and I'm just a lot weaker. But visually from the outside, I'm starting to notice that my body looks very similar to what it looked like before, even though I'm not as strong as I was. And I think that's because once you take that time to build the muscle, it's a lot harder for it to go away than it was to build it. So here's what I want you to know, that losing weight and building muscle are two separate transformations. Yes, it is possible to lose weight and build muscle at the same time. I did it, but it is way harder. I am so glad that I spent 10 months losing the bulk of my weight before I ever decided to really focus on building muscle. If you are trying to lose weight, especially a large amount of weight, and build muscle at the same time, there are trade-offs where you need to be eating more to fuel your workouts. You need to be eating more protein and more calories and those carbs, and that can be counterproductive to weight loss. I like to make things easy on myself and keep things simple. So separating weight loss and muscle building into two separate transformations was really helpful for me. How you decide to approach it is an individual choice. And my way is not necessarily better than your way. We all have to do what works for us. Once you decide to jump on the bandwagon to build muscle, I hope you'll see how rewarding it is. But it does stretch you. It does take a lot of work. And it is so different from losing weight. It takes a real mindset shift to take all of that energy you were putting into weight loss and start putting that into muscle building instead. To start being okay with eating more and doing more and lifting more and even weighing more. And to trust that the patience that you will be required to have is not a punishment. It's just the path you have to take to get to your desired outcome. When I achieved my weight loss goal and started in maintenance mode, I almost felt like a failure because I didn't look the way that I wanted to look. But what I know now is that I didn't fail. My goals just changed. Things evolve. So if you're picturing something different in your head than what you're seeing in the mirror, maybe that is your next chapter too. Wherever you are, if you're at the beginning, if you're in the middle, or if you're in maintenance, know that there's a path forward. Your story isn't over yet, and neither is mine. I actually don't know what's next. I'm looking forward to deciding on my next fitness goals. Right now, I'm still trying to get my strength back after my surgery. Next week will be 6 months from surgery for me, which is hard to believe. And I have some ideas for maybe some fitness goals that I want to have for 2026. I'm not quite sure what those are yet, but I will be sure to share them when I do. I would love to hear from you and know what are some of the goals that you have for yourself when it comes to fitness. Where are you on the journey and where does fitness fit into your plan? If you would take a minute to like this video, leave me a comment and let me know about your fitness goals, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for more motivation on your GLP-1 journey.